Now in today's video, we're gonna go over the process that we took here to create a lightweight yet durable casting using the mold that we created in the prior video. Now if you haven't checked out those videos, make sure that you check out the links in the video description below, and that is going to show you videos on the prepping of the model as well as the mold making process. Now let's just jump into this video and see how we've done that. Now, so far in this project, we created a mold and we put a mold together, and now we're ready for the casting process. And for that, we're first going to create a skin using the lightweight casting resin called Featherlite, and then we're going to back it up using the Foam It 4 Black for a lightweight application that will hang on a wall. So for the skin, I decided to use the Featherlite. This is a lightweight casting resin that's heavily filled. So you can see here that you have to break up that filler thoroughly and mix it in to make sure that everything reconstitutes back together and you get a creamy consistency once the material is mixed. To get a nice soft brown base color for my casting and get away from some of the yellow color of the Featherlite, I'm adding a little bit of the UVO brown to the part B of our resin. Now I'm using this here as a brush-on material. It does have a short working time, 8.5 minutes, 2-hour setup time, so I can use this material as a brush-on product. It does have some good vertical hold, so I can cover certain areas, and you can tell I'm mixing smaller batches since this mold is quite large. I cannot cover the entire piece in one go, so I mix smaller batches, and then here I actually do have to tilt the mold sideways, and I created a little brush that's taped to the end of the stick here to get into difficult areas. Now you can mix material and slush it in the mold, but this is quite a large mold, so you have to understand how to go about using it. Here I am using a syringe to fill the teeth area, and then again we're depositing material over high ridges, difficult areas to get into, building up a thickness overall that's going to give us a nice skin for the casting. Now we're going to allow this to cure for 2 hours before backfilling it using Foam It 4 Black. We're going to mix the material mechanically using a drill and a paddle mixer, and then scrape the sides, scrape the bottom, and get it quickly into the mold. We're now going to pour the material into our mold cavity and let it free rise. So that is going to then fill in all the crevices and nooks in our mold cavity. And then after 2 hours, we're going to pour a second batch. This is called a stage pour, and it prevents material from rising and pushing against newly poured material and possibly then trapping expanding gases in the cavity, therefore possibly also distorting the casting and possibly even breaking the mold, which I've seen happen even on large molds. We're using the Foam It 4 Black for several reasons. Number one, it's a lightweight foam. It has 4 pounds of weight in a cubic foot. It expands 14 times its original volume. While being black makes it ideal in case it does show through somewhere in our casting, it will blend in easily with the rest of it once it's painted. Now here the teeth in the front are a little thin, so we're going to back those up with some thickened Featherlite. The thickening agent that I use to thicken the Featherlite is called Ure-Fil 11. It's a universal thickening agent for silicones and urethane products. And then we're going to pour the final layer of the foam. And then we're going to use a back pressure plate to keep the foam from expanding upward, but rather fill in any of the crevices in the mold itself, creating also a nice flat backing of our casting. The backside of this melamine back pressure plate has received a coating or layer of the East Release 2831. That is the designated release agent for polyurethane expanding foam. Not only does it release the foam, but it also doesn't collapse it. So the solvents in the release agent will not collapse the expanding foam. Now we can proceed to casting the lower jaw, and we're going to proceed the same way. We're going to first brush on some of the Featherlite into an open mold. We're going to do 2 layers of that, and then we're going to close the mold. So once we have 2 layers of the Featherlite in the mold, we're going to close it, bolt it together, and then we're going to backfill it using some Foam It 4 black. So once we mix the material using a mechanical mixer, a drill with a paddle mixer, and then scrape the sides, scrape the bottom, and get it quickly into the mold. A lot of focus on that face. As always, when working with expanding polyurethane foam, keep the extreme short pot life in mind. So don't delay, mix extremely fast, and get the material inside the mold. And a little tilt of the mold, making sure that it makes it all the way down into the casting. And then I'm going to leave the mold sideways. This is going to allow the material to kind of seek its way out of the mold. A little bit of the extra material here that shot out of the mold, a little bit of excess. The material is now allowed 2 hours to cure before demolding. All right, it's been 2 hours now, and the Foam It 4 black has cured where we can handle it. We're going to start by removing any of the overflow material that came out of the vent holes. And you can see how nice and clean of a surface that leaves when you use a flat pressure plate like that. And I can simply start removing parts of the support shell one by one. So second, third, and the fourth piece are removed to relieve the pressure that's on the mold itself and able to now easily retrieve that casting and the mold out. And now we're going to slowly peel away the rubber mold itself. Go always easy, don't go slowly when pulling and tugging on rubber molds. We don't want to put any unnecessary strain onto the mold and potentially rip it somewhere. So go slowly until the mold is peeled away from the casting. You can see here clearly the different coloration from batch to batch that we had in the Featherlite. Now, if you are concerned about the batch coloration from batch to batch, you can be very precise and add the pigment by weight so that your batch coloration will be the same from batch to batch. An even better way would be to pigment the entire batch of material that you're using for that casting. In this case, the entire gallon of the Featherlite. For us here, we just wanted to get away from the yellow color that the Featherlite has, and we're going to end up painting this with darker tones anyways. The casting itself is very lightweight, and I'm able to actually balance it in just one hand. Now, once we demold everything, we can fix up some of the areas. I like to use the freeform air for the fixing of the casting. We're going to Dremel or sand back the flashing around the teeth. And you can see some of those areas where some of that foam escaped through the first layer, through the layer of the Featherlite. Now, once the casting is cleaned up, we can go on and start the painting process. For the painting process of our casting, I'm going to be using the Maker Pro paints. Now, before we start applying any of the actual paint, we are going to apply first an adhesion promoter. This is like a primer for the paints that we're applying. This will make sure that the paints that we apply stay firmly on our casting. And the beauty of it is that we just need one thin layer of the adhesion promoter. Now, once the adhesion promoter has been applied, we're going to let that dry for 15 minutes or until it is dry to the touch before applying the paint. Using the Makeup Pro Paint standard color palette, I'm now painting the entire build that we created so far. So different colors are applied, and depending on the area, some of it's actually wiped off. In this case, I'm using a paper rag, towel, to wipe off some of the paint that has been applied. This is a standard technique that many painters use to reveal different textures and to reveal some of the paint coming through, the base color coming through. Some of the reasons why I chose to use the Makeup Pro paint for this project, for once, they don't fade from the sunlight, so they are UV resistant. They are also fire resistant, so they have a fire rating. They are excellent choice for high traffic areas, so where people are going to touch the casting itself, and they are great for outdoor applications, so under the elements. To sum it up, these are very durable and resistant paints that are going to last a very long time. Now I'm using several different colors to achieve a very ancient look to this skull. So I did have some reference pictures of real skulls that have been excavated, and that's what I'm basing my color scheme that I'm using for my sculpture here. So additional layers of dark toned Makeup Pro paints are applied until we are satisfied with that tone of the dark color before then applying some of the light tones and some of the washes over the top. One thing to keep in mind is you should allow each layer to dry for 15 minutes before applying additional layers over the top. You can see here that once the darker layers of the Makeup Pro paint are dry, I'm going to apply some lighter colors over the top. And then again, I'm using some paper towel to wipe that off. And here even some dry brushing techniques to get a nice finish on our sculpt. Finally, to complete the project, I did make also a backing sign here to mimic some of the old movies that these dinosaurs were featured in, and finally then install it in our game room. So there you have the final finished project. Here you can clearly see why it was important for us to create a lightweight sign. It is hanging high on a wall, and we don't want to have this at any point come down and potentially break or hurt somebody. So keep in mind what you're trying to achieve with your projects when you start them so that you can achieve your goals. Now, if you got inspired by this project and you'd like to give your own projects a go, and need some material, you can visit any one of our distributors around the world. So, and there you have it, a step-by-step process that I took to create this strong and durable yet lightweight casting that is ready for the painting and display purpose. Now, in this video, we showed you how we use the Featherlite and Foamit products to create this lightweight casting. However, if you want to see the prepping of the model and making of the mold, make sure you check out the links down in the description below. That will take you to those videos. Now, if you have an idea about what we should do next, please let us know down in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. And remember to keep up with our latest mold making, casting, and other videos. Remember to subscribe. Out of durable materials, for using the Featherlite and Freeform Air. Sorry, did I say Freeform Air? I meant Foamit. Now, remember, if you... we cast it in this final third video. Oh, silly kids.